The ballroom glittered with chandeliers, the air thick with the scent of perfume and champagne bubbles. Every corner sparkled with wealth, crystal glasses, sequin gowns, polished marble floors. But all that shimmer shattered in a single, brutal moment. A chocolate cake smashed into Maya Washington's face. Frosting exploded across her hair like an ugly crown, dripping down her navy dress, staining it beyond repair. Gasps cracked through the room like gunshots. Phones lifted instantly, tiny red recording dots blinking like hundreds of eyes. The heiress, Victoria Sterling, stood over Maya with a smirk as sharp as broken glass. "Back to the kitchen where you belong," she sneered into the microphone, her voice slicing through the shocked silence. Laughter rippled, uneasy, forced, cruel. Maya didn't move. Not at first. She stood frozen in the spotlight, cake sliding down her cheek, the sweetness mixing with the bitter taste of humiliation. But her eyes, they didn't hold tears. They held something colder. A calculation. A storm. What she felt wasn't shame. It was clarity. The balance of power in this room was about to shift, and Victoria Sterling had no idea how far she had just gone. The crowd murmured. Some giggled nervously. Others shifted in their gowns, uncomfortable but unwilling to interfere. Phones hovered higher, every second streamed live to thousands of online viewers. And still, Maya didn't flinch. Not 1 inch. She let the silence grow heavy, so heavy that even Victoria's mocking laughter began to falter. Why wasn't the nobody crumbling? Why wasn't she begging? Finally, Maya bent down. The polished floor reflected her smeared face back at her, frosting clinging to her lashes. Her briefcase had flown open, papers scattered across the marble. She reached for them, steady hands trembling only slightly. But before she could gather them, Victoria's stiletto heel slammed down hard on Maya's fingers. The crack of impact echoed. Maya winced, but she didn't pull back. Victoria leaned in, eyes glittering with cruelty. "Don't touch what isn't yours," she hissed, loud enough for the microphones. The crowd gasped again, the cruelty undeniable now. Whispers spread. Did she just? This is too much. Yet no one stepped forward. They watched like spectators at a coliseum, thirsty for drama, unwilling to break the spell. Maya slowly looked up, her gaze locking onto the nearest camera lens. Her face, smeared with cake, filled the giant ballroom screens as the live stream zoomed in. And when she spoke, her voice was calm, professional, and anchoring chaos. "Ma'am," she said evenly, "I believe there's been a misunderstanding." Her tone wasn't weak. It wasn't desperate. It carried a weight that made the whispers die instantly. Even the chandeliers seemed to flicker in the stillness that followed. Victoria laughed, sharp and brittle. "Misunderstanding? Please. Everyone here saw you sneaking around. People like you don't belong in this world. And now they all know it." She gestured to the audience, to the phones, to the thousands watching online. Her voice dripped with venom. "Take a good look, everyone. This is what happens when frauds try to sneak into places they don't belong. People like you." The phrase cut deeper than the cake. It wasn't just an insult. It was a declaration. The line that separated us from them. A man near the bar whispered, "She didn't just say that, did she?" His companion shook his head, phone still recording. Comments online flooded faster than anyone could read. "This feels wrong. Why isn't anyone helping her? Who even is she?" Maya inhaled slowly. She could taste sugar, perfume, and something else, bitterness. But her hands didn't shake as she reached into her purse. She pulled out a business card and handed it, not to Victoria, but to Marcus Carter, the hotel's general manager, who stood frozen nearby. He read it. And his face drained of color. "Dr. Maya Washington," he whispered, barely audible over the growing buzz. Senior Vice President, Microsoft Azure. The ballroom rippled. Shocked murmurs spread like wildfire. Wait, what? Did he say Microsoft? She's an exec? Eyebrows shot up, fans of champagne paused midair, and phones zoomed in closer, desperate to catch every reaction. Victoria snatched the card with a laugh too loud to hide her panic. This is the worst fake I've ever seen, she scoffed. Microsoft executives don't look like her. The cruelty of that sentence hit the room like a bomb. Gasps erupted, louder than before. Phones trembled in guests' hands as they captured the moment raw and unfiltered. Viewers online flooded the comments. She really said that? No way this is happening live. This girl is done. But Maya didn't flinch. Instead, she pulled her cracked phone from her purse, its screen fractured from Victoria's heel earlier. She tapped it, and the ballroom projector came alive. Her credentials filled the massive screen, her photo, her title, her official Microsoft executive profile. The reaction was instant. Gasps, shouts, chaos. The live stream count surged, climbing by the thousands. Guests staggered back, some whispering frantic apologies, others staring at Victoria with dawning horror. And in that moment, Maya finally lifted her chin. The cake still clung to her hair, her dress was ruined, her hand throbbed where Victoria's heel had pressed into her skin, but she had never looked more powerful. Victoria's smile cracked. For the first time, doubt flickered across her face. But she didn't back down. She raised her voice over the commotion. That's fake. She's an actress. Look at her. Covered in cake, do you really believe this woman runs anything? But the room no longer laughed with her. The spell of privilege was breaking. And Maya? She wasn't finished. Not yet. Marcus Carter, the hotel manager, still clutching the business card, pulled out his phone with trembling hands. His voice was tight as he spoke into the microphone so the room could hear. We'll verify this right now. He dialed. The ballroom went silent except for the faint buzz of the line ringing. Each beep was like a drumbeat of judgment. Then a crisp voice answered, Microsoft Corporation, Redmond headquarters. How may I direct your call? Gasps. Eyes swung toward Maya. Carter's throat bobbed as he swallowed. Yes, connect me to Dr. Maya Washington's office. A click. Then another voice, this is Jennifer, executive assistant to Dr. Washington. The entire room froze. Cameras zoomed in. Guests craned their necks. Every eye landed on Maya as frosting dripped down her cheek, catching the chandelier light. And then, calmly, she spoke into the microphone. Jennifer. This is Dr. Washington. I'm at the Sterling Gala. We've had an incident involving dessert. Jennifer's horrified gasp echoed through the ballroom. Dr. Washington, we're watching the live stream right now. Are you safe? Should I call security? The police? The silence that followed was suffocating. You could hear the faint fizz of champagne going flat in abandoned glasses. You could hear the clicks of phones capturing history. Victoria's face drained of color, but arrogance clung to her like perfume. No. She's lying. Daddy. The doors at the far end of the ballroom slammed open. Jonathan Sterling, CEO of Sterling Industries, stormed in, his silver hair disheveled, his eyes frantic. He had been watching too. Victoria, he hissed, rushing to her side. What have you done? She turned, relief flooding her expression. Daddy, perfect timing. She's a fraud. She snuck in. I just handled it with some cake. Her laugh rang hollow in the air, brittle and desperate. But Jonathan wasn't laughing. His eyes locked onto the projector screen, onto Maya's credentials blazing across the ballroom like a verdict. His knees buckled. Horror carved itself into the lines of his face. "Oh, God." His voice cracked. "Victoria, you don't understand who this is." But she refused to yield. "You're all blind. Look at her, covered in frosting, dressed like a cheap imposter. You really think this woman belongs here?" The words hung like smoke, choking the room. Nobody laughed this time. Not a sound. Just the relentless whir of cameras capturing every brutal syllable. And then Maya spoke. Her voice cut through the silence, sharp and unshakable. "Miss Sterling humiliated me on camera. She assaulted me. She called me ghetto trash in front of hundreds of thousands of viewers. And she did it." Maya lifted her briefcase from the floor, wiping frosting from its edges, minutes before I was scheduled to sign a $4.5 billion partnership contract with Sterling Industries. The words detonated like thunder. Gasps erupted, rolling through the ballroom in waves. $4.5 billion. Phones shook in people's hands as the live stream surged past 200,000 viewers. Comments scrolled like wildfire. She ended them. This is the most expensive cake in history. Sterling Industries is finished. Jonathan staggered forward, his voice breaking. "Dr. Washington, please. Please don't do this. Don't punish 12,000 employees for my daughter's mistake. I beg you." His knees actually hit the marble floor. The CEO of Sterling Industries, on his knees in front of the woman his daughter had smeared with cake. The crowd erupted in gasps. Victoria's face twisted. "Daddy, get up. Don't humiliate yourself for her." Maya opened her briefcase. Inside lay the contract, the one that was supposed to save Sterling Industries. Frosting stained the edges, but the document itself was pristine. She held it high for the cameras, her hand steady. "This," she declared, "is the Microsoft Sterling agreement. It would have secured your future. But the deadline has passed. The contract is void. Your daughter destroyed it the moment she threw that cake." The ballroom exploded, screams, gasps, chaos. Journalists surged forward, snapping photos like vultures circling. The live stream count climbed toward 250,000. Victoria's voice cracked into a scream. "No! This is insane. It was just cake." But security was already approaching. The chief of staff, a tall man with a stern face, spoke into his radio before stepping forward. "Miss Sterling, we have multiple witnesses and 6 camera angles. You assaulted a guest. You're under arrest." No, this is crazy. You can't arrest me for cake." Her bracelets clattered as she thrashed, frosting still under her fingernails. Her shrill protests rang against the ballroom walls, but the handcuffs clicked shut anyway. Maya didn't move. She stood tall, letting the cameras capture every second. Every glare, every breath, every ounce of dignity that hadn't cracked even under the weight of humiliation. And as Victoria Sterling was dragged out of her own family's gala in disgrace, Maya finally turned back to the crowd. Her voice, calm and commanding, carried through the ballroom and into every phone streaming to the world. Actions have consequences. Tonight, you saw them unfold. The live stream spiked to 300,000 viewers. The world leaned closer. And Sterling Industries, an empire built on arrogance and power, was crumbling before their eyes. But the night wasn't over yet. Because the true price of arrogance was only beginning to be revealed. The ballroom emptied in fragments of chaos, heels clattering, voices whispering, phones buzzing with notifications as the world devoured the spectacle. But Maya remained still, her heels planted on the marble, her ruined navy dress sticking to her skin, the faint smell of sugar and champagne clinging to the air. Jonathan Sterling hadn't moved. He was still on his knees, his face pale as ash, his empire collapsing in real time. "Dr. Washington," he whispered, his voice cracking like old glass. "We'll fire her. We'll issue a public apology. Just give us another chance. Don't let thousands of workers suffer for one spoiled daughter. Every eye in the room shifted to Maya. Phones pointed toward her like weapons, capturing the moment when power and dignity decided the fate of an empire. She let the silence hang, the only sound the faint hum of the projector above. Then, her words fell like a hammer. Mr. Sterling, this isn't just about me. Your daughter didn't just insult Maya Washington. She insulted every person who has ever been told they don't belong. She revealed what your company truly values: status over integrity, privilege over respect. Gasps rippled through the crowd. A woman in the back muttered, "She's right." Another man near the bar whispered, "They're finished." Maya lifted her briefcase once more. The contract inside gleamed under the chandelier light, a symbol of what could have been. She closed it with a decisive snap, the sound echoing like a gavel in a courtroom. "The price," she said evenly, "is $4.5 billion. And tonight, the world knows why Sterling Industries lost it." Phones exploded with comments. Game over. This is history. Privilege just got checked. Victoria's muffled screams echoed faintly from the hall as security dragged her out, her protests dissolving into desperate sobs. The same crowd that once laughed with her now turned away, unwilling to be seen on her side. Jonathan's shoulders slumped. For the first time, he looked like a man stripped of armor, staring at the ruins of everything he had built. Reporters shoved microphones toward him, shouting questions, but he couldn't answer. He couldn't even stand. And Maya? She didn't gloat. She didn't smile. She stood quietly in the storm, cake still clinging to her hair like battle scars, her breathing steady. Because this moment wasn't about revenge. It was about truth. When the last guest finally stumbled out, when the chandeliers dimmed and the champagne lost its fizz, Maya walked alone through the silent corridor. Her heels clicked against the marble, slow, deliberate, like the rhythm of a verdict. She passed the gilded mirrors that reflected her frosting-stained face. But she didn't see humiliation staring back at her anymore. She saw steel. She saw the woman who had refused to bend even when privilege tried to break her in front of the world. Outside the hotel doors, the city lights pulsed against the glass, 1,000 cameras still flashing as reporters swarmed. Maya paused, taking one last look at the empty ballroom behind her. For the first time, she felt the sting of sugar in her hair, not as shame, but as proof that cruelty can backfire, that arrogance collapses when exposed to light, and that dignity, once tested, only grows stronger. She stepped out into the night, cameras following her every move. And as she disappeared into the glow of the city, the story etched itself into history. Respect cannot be bought. Privilege cannot survive the truth. And arrogance? Arrogance always pays the price.